Thank you.
Personal resume for both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you coming in this morning. It's
Thank
great
you.
for us to have an opportunity to do this. Did you? Yeah, you was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Thank you for allowing me to be.
Well, what we'd like to do, Jamel, is just learn a little bit more about your background and experience. I appreciate the resume. That'll help me out a little bit as we kind of dive into some of these details. But I'd also like to hear some things from you firsthand. So
Okay.
why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about why you've chosen the degree plan or degree program that you have, and why this job is of interest to you.
Okay. As prior background, I've always loved working with younger kids. Even while I was a kid myself, I like seeing the enthusiasm. A lot of adults don't bring that enthusiasm to the workplace as well as to anything else. And so to have that enthusiasm and for them to have a drive and things like that, that's always encouraging for me to see because it continues to help me grow. I've been working with kids since, I've done community service projects since I was 12 and 13 years old. Community service projects such as Giving Back. There's a community service project that goes on in Dallas yearly. It's called Celebration of Hope. And what they do is we collect clothes, shoes throughout the whole year, and we box them together in huge trash bags. And we just give them to the families that don't have it around the community. And it's even fun to see the little toys that may not mean anything to anybody else that has those toys and things like that, but just how they light up with little things like jackets and new socks and things like that. That's always been a blessing to me. And so I feel like, well, why can't I continue to do that and be a blessing to somebody else and help out in any way that I can. I currently am a licensed professional tennis coach, and I coach youth as well as adults, but I specialize in a lot of youth coaching. I've been doing that, I had my professional license since I was 18, and just summer in and summer out, you can see the kids progress and you can see the kids want to learn. Tennis isn't the most popular sport. There's football and basketball and even hockey and baseball, but to see them actually want to learn how to play tennis when, of course, they play other sports, but to see them engage and wanting to learn and wanting to get better and, just have fun doing it, that's all been a blessing to me. And so I continue to do it each summer.
Okay, good. You segued into this well. Tell us a little bit about your work experience.
Well, as far as work experience, I've done, like I said, I've done a lot of community service projects, but this coaching job has really been my big support and my base. It's a nonprofit organization. It's funded by the Dallas Tennis Association, and in partnerships with the USTA, which is United States Tennis Association, which is where you would see your big pros, your Venus Serena, your Rafael Nadal, which is a men's tennis player. I think he's like #3 in the world right now. And they all partnership, and they incorporate like a recreational form of tennis so that underprivileged youth as well as youth all over it can come and be a part of something different, something that's outside of what we would consider the norm of basketball and football and baseball. And you see it growing each day. There's kids from all different walks of life. There's kids from distressed homes. There's kids and family members from the extremely wealthy homes, and they all come together and they can all be a part of something such as tennis. And so I guess that would be a little bit of my work experience.
Okay. Help me get it a little bit more crystal clear in my mind. So are you employed by this nonprofit agency?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been employed by them?
4.5 years,
Okay.
going on 5.
And tell me the name of the nonprofit again.
Dallas Tennis Association.
Okay. And so are you doing that work here in Oklahoma, or is it just when you're back in Texas? How does that work?
Once let's say I come home for a break or anything like that, because I'm always going to be on the payroll until I, get another job and things like that. But I come home, and a lot of times when I come home, if it's not for a longer period of time, I usually just do volunteer work, you know, because
Mhm.
it really doesn't concern me about the paycheck, but I just love working with the kids,
Mhm.
and you know, love that communication. A lot of kids know me, and because of that, it's easy to communicate with them, and kind of help me along with me working, even when I'm here in school.
Okay.
So when do you actually work for them?
During the summer,
Okay.
Okay.
usually it's a full term of the whole summer.
And are you a contract person?
Yes.
So somebody wants coaching, they give them to you and you're paid by person, or are you paid on your own salary?
Well, when I do private lessons, because I have my professional license, I can do those aside from my contract or aside from the organization.
Okay.
But a lot of the kids,
So you have a base pay and then you can do add-ons.
correct.
So you basically work for yourself, but you also work for the Dallas Tennis Association?
Correct.
Sweet.
Okay, I'm getting it. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Any other, you said you got your license when you turned 18. Did you work prior to that?
I did a lot of community service work.
Okay.
For their organization. The starting age is 18. They want you to have some kind of college degree and things like that. And I was a part of the program before I even started becoming an employee of the
Okay.
program.
Okay.
And so it had its little perks and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's shift a little bit to talk about some of your interactions with other people.
Okay.
Tell us about a time when you dealt with either a coworker or a fellow student whose style was different from yours. Tell us a little bit about the challenges that the situation created and how you handled it.
Okay. I really don't have too many problems with my coworkers, as crazy as it sounds. We all have different personalities, but again, we're all there for a common goal, and so, you know, putting personalities aside is always the most important thing, because it's not about us, it's about helping others. But as far as the coaching is concerned for the kids, I actually had an incident where, especially, it actually started my first year. I was put in a situation where we usually have a partner, another coach, because we have a large amount of kids. We may have one site that we attend that's 40 kids. We may have another site that's 85 kids. And so one coach for 40 kids is already, you know, enough as it is. And two coaches for 80 kids, even though that doesn't seem very balanced, we have to learn techniques. And my partner actually got sick. And she got sick for maybe 3 weeks. And I was new to it. I mean, I had done community service, but being in charge is a totally different things. And the kids, they really had a tough time responding to me, and I had a tough time responding to them, trying to understand why they did the things that they did, and it was really chaos. It was chaos everywhere. But I sat down and just had a talk with the kids. I took a day off. And I said, we're going to talk about what do you like to learn? What do you want to learn? You know, why are you here? And the kids would tell them, well, I was here because they told me I had to be in tennis. I didn't want to play tennis, you know. And that's a common thing, especially being in the summertime. Nobody wants to be outside. And it's hot and things like that. But I sat down and talked to the kids, and I understood where they were coming from. I made sure that, okay, if we're going to have to be out here, then let's make sure we have enough water breaks. Let's make sure that I can incorporate the things that they do in different sports that they do to encompass tennis. And so when I took all of their strengths and encompassed it, then it was a lot easier to communicate with the kids and teach them. So.
Yeah, good, okay. Tell us about your favorite professor, what it is about his or her style that's so effective for you.
My favorite professor, okay. Well, I have to say Professor View.
Okay.
When I first came into the college, I spoke with Professor View. Me and my parents, we sat down and spoke with him. And just the background that he had, and he was open to talk about his personal life and his personal experiences. And a lot of professors aren't like that at all. They're strictly, we're going to do things that are written in a book, and everything else, my personal life, anything after that, you know, it shouldn't have any effect on this class. But he's open to talk about his personal experiences so that we can feel more comfortable with talking and communicating in class because that's his main goal. He sees that the learning styles of students are so different. Some people are auditory people, and some people you have to write it down for them, and some people they're visual learners and things like that. And he understands those different styles of learning, and he incorporates that by giving different techniques on how we can best learn. There's not one set way of how he teaches, and because of that, I think there are a lot of students that are successful in his classes. So,
What have you learned about your own learning style?
I've learned that I'm a hands-on person. I really like to be out in the field. I would rather do a presentation than a paper any day. But I love to communicate, and that's my way of communicating. I can look at the board and get the information, but for me to express it better, it would be better for me to do it in a presentation form rather than a test form. So I've learned that talking and things like that is more natural and common.
Okay, good. When you consider the possibility of this job, what causes you the most apprehension or nervousness, and why?
My nerves really kind of flare up because I want to help people, and for me not to be able to help somebody effectively is something that really bothers me.
Yeah.
I love helping people, and just sitting down and talking to a person, you may not always get the thing that you need to help that person right off the bat, but you have to be patient with those things because it takes time. It takes time to grow. It takes time to learn. It takes time to even develop as a person. And so because of that, it's going to take time for me to effectively be able to help somebody. It may not be right off the bat that I understand the issue and then I can help them through it. But just making sure that I help them effectively will be my nerve.
Okay. Is there questions?
Well, tell me, if I were to ask you, what qualifies you to work in the social service field? What are the qualifications? I know you've talked about your experience. Is there anything else you can add to that that would help me feel comfortable about you working with people in helping profession?
Okay. Well, like I said, I've done a lot of community service, and because of that, you have to really understand how people interact and why people do the things they do, which is why I chose this major. It gets into not only just the outward, but the inward appearance of the people. I feel like social services is more of trying to understand what the problem is and helping them solve the problem by them being the first ones to have an initiative to even call social services. And if I were in social services, then for them to even make that call to say, okay, I need help, that's the first step for them, for me knowing that they need help and that they want it, and that because of that, then, I see that they're devoted and, trying to develop and become better. And so because of that, I feel like I have a lot of qualification in it. I see a lot of people. I'm going to talk to a lot of kids as well as adults, because once you deal with their kids, a lot of times you have to deal with the adults because the parents want the best for their child. And that's understandable. And so I feel like I have the best of both worlds, communicating with a child as well as an adult.
Well, you talked a lot about kind of what you did in the summer and maybe before college. What have you done in college that would qualify you for working in social services?
I actually am a part of an organization called Circles. It's here in Bartlesville. And Circles is basically, it's a community barrier. We see that there's so many different barriers, and this program helps you understand what those barriers are based on looking at the community and talking to the community. A lot of times people want to solve problems from a corporate standpoint, but they don't get down to the base and actually ask the people who are suffering what they need, what they're suffering with, what do they need help in. And Circles does that effectively. They've turned a lot of people's lives around, and they understand that being a part of that group gives them something to belong to. That's what a lot of the community has. The flourishing communities have something that they belong to, whether it be something like a country club or things like that. They feel like they're a part of something. And that's what Circle gives a lot of people. It gives them a sense of belonging so that they can effectively go through their problems together, whatever those community barriers are. Because a lot of people have those same problems, but nobody's spoken up and talked about those things. And so, does that answer your question?
Yes, so what was your involvement? How did you get involved in that? What did you do there?
Actually, Gina Elias came into one of our classes, our psychology classes, and she gave a presentation about how 2 or 3 different people can take one little small thing on their plate to help one person so that they can grow. It may be simple as, well, I know you're busy and I know you have a lot on your plate, and I know you have 2 or 3 kids, but my kids play the same sport as your kids, and so you can maybe get a little rest. I'll take the kids to practice and I'll drop them back off. Or something as little as, well, I know you've had a long day and you may be struggling and work and things like that, so I'll cook for your family. I'll bring the food over and I'll cook for your family, or things like that. And so it takes away from one person being cluttered with so many different problems, and now they're more freed up to actually be a productive person. And so being involved in that, I saw that it was an opportunity for me to help people. Like I said before, that I love helping people. As well as, you see a lot of adults in the Circles program, but you see the kids as well, and you see the kids' lives being changed because the adults made a great decision. And so I felt like that was something I need to be a part of.
And can you tell us just a little bit about what that was? What was the part that you played?
The part that I played was I came in as a college student and just giving my personal barriers and seeing the community barriers and understanding that I could be a help to the community by things such as helping the Circles program grow, as far as things such as growing them on the internet or social media and things like that.
So is that what you're doing with them? Are you
Yes.
in charge of their social media?
I am assisting in their social media.
Okay. So that's kind of your role right
Yes.
now? Because I think that's what you were going for.
That's right,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Great. Did you have more questions?
No?
Is there anything else about your qualifications that we should know?
I'm very based in the Christian aspect, but I don't let that overtake anything that I do. I'm not going to force it on anybody because that's not what it's taught for. It's taught to be a help, just as my social services would be a help. It's as my community projects are a help to others. It's not about myself, and I take myself out of all the things that I do so that I can be productive and helpful to others. And so I feel like that qualifies me well enough to be accepted for this position.
Okay, good.
Good.
All right.
Thanks, Jermaine.
We appreciate you coming in this morning. What we'll do is Thursday morning, we'll meet at the exact same time,
Okay.
and we'll kind of give you some feedback then.
All right. That'll
Okay?
work.